At 10:20 on June 4th, 1942, orders rang through Soryu to prepare the attack wave aircraft fighters for launching to reinforce the combat air patrol fighters, since the United States had been attacking the ships relentlessly throughout the morning with land and carrier-based aircraft. Reinforcing the combat air patrol at this time was vital, since all 4 Japanese carriers were attempting to launch a strike wave to hit the newly spotted U.S. aircraft carriers, and this meant that the aircraft were within both the upper and lower hangars, fully fueled and armed, awaiting spotting. This was the most dangerous time for these aircraft carriers to come under attack. Unfortunately for the Japanese, those dive bombers that they had yet to see would arrive at 10:24, and 13 would target Soryu. At 10:25, a 1,000-pound bomb would strike Soryu directly on its forward elevator, completely destroying it, and the bomb itself would explode within the upper hangar level, and since there were aircraft fully fueled and armed within this hangar, they would begin to ignite, and a series of secondary explosions in both levels of the hangars would begin to rock throughout the entire length of the ship. These secondary explosions were fatal, especially on the Japanese aircraft carriers, where the hangar decks were completely enclosed and relied on small ventilation systems to vent out expanding gases, but in the event where gases expand at such a rapid pace, the hangars themselves were being blown out and their decks collapsed. At 10:26, a second 1,000-pound bomb would strike Soryu just behind the aft elevator. It too would explode in the upper hangar, and it would hasten the secondary explosions, further damaging the ship. These 2 bombs, combined with the secondary explosions, were fatal to the ship, as the upper structure had been shattered and fires were running out of control. But Soryu had 1 more bomb to take, and it would arrive 3 minutes later at 10:29. This 1,000-pound bomb would strike amidships near the funnels and penetrate through the upper hangar, detonating within the lower hangar, and the expansion of the blast would damage Soryu's boiler rooms, completely rupturing the primary steam line. As a result, steam pressure quickly dropped, and Soryu lost all power to its turbines, meaning the ship drifted to a stop. A few minutes later, the Hiryu confirms that it has sighting on Soryu and that Soryu was aflame, and steam began rising from the port side of Soryu, and by 10:40, the ship had a sightless to port. By 10:45, Captain Yanagimoto recognized that Soryu was in deep trouble, and he ordered all non-essential personnel to abandon ship, meaning damage control would be left behind to attempt fighting the flames and getting the propulsion system back online. This was the final time Captain Yanagimoto was seen, and his personnel would leave him on the starboard side of the island at the signal post. At 11:12, the heavy cruiser Chikuma would sail towards Soryu and launch a small boat once when it was within an adequate range to assist with the evacuation of Soryu's crew, and in the meantime, Chikuma would begin recovering one of its reconnaissance aircraft. At 11:30, Rear Admiral Yamaguchi aboard the aircraft carrier Hiryu orders Commander of Cruiser Division 8 to assign 2 destroyers to each of the 3 burning aircraft carriers, as the bulk of the Japanese fleet must move along. Admiral Yamaguchi also orders Soryu to retire and return towards Yamamoto's battleship force. However, Soryu does not respond to the order, and the ship by this point was completely unnavigatable. The destroyers Izokaze and Hamakaze would be assigned to assist Soryu, and Chikuma would abandon the vessel. The small boat that Chikuma had launched was also left behind with Soryu to continue assisting with the evacuation. At 11:47, new orders would be received from Hiryu, ordering that 1 destroyer be left with each of the burning carriers, and the others return to the main fleet to prepare for a surface battle. Even with the orders having been received, both Izokaze and Hamakaze remain at Soryu's side. At 14:35, radio signals from Cruiser Division 8 would reach the destroyers, warning them of 2 submarine sightings within the area. At 16:55, Hamakaze receives another order to continue screening with Izokaze and attempt moving Soryu northwest. 5 minutes later at 1700, Izokaze radios Destroyer Division 4's flagship Arashi, letting it know that Soryu was completely inoperable, and that the previous orders put the destroyers in a tough spot, so they asked for directions on what to do next. Arashi responds, telling Isokaze to remain on screening duty, and asked if the fires were brought under control on Soryu, if the ship could be made operational again. At 1800, Arashi sends out another radio signal asking the destroyers screening Kaga and Soryu if the two carriers were under any danger of sinking on their own. Then it immediately follows up with another order telling the destroyers to remain at the carriers' sides. At 1802, the small boat that Chikuma had left behind believed that it had collected all of Soryu's survivors from the water, and the members whom were left aboard the boat were taken aboard the destroyer Hamikaze, and the small boat was set adrift. At 1900, the two destroyers began assembling damage control parties to go aboard Soryu and assist with fighting the fires, but before the parties could board Soryu, orders came in to scuttle the aircraft carrier so the destroyers could be freed for night action. At 1912, the Isokase was in position, and it would fire 3 torpedoes at Soryu, with 2 or 3 of them striking the vessel, and within a few minutes, Soryu was gone, taking 713 crew members with her. At 1915, the Hamikaze radioed Vice Admirals Nagumo and Yamaguchi, informing them that Soryu had been sunk, and 5 minutes later, at 1920, an underwater explosion was felt and heard, possibly from further ordnances detonating. That is the last anyone has seen of one of the most influential designs the Imperial Japanese Navy would construct. With that having been said, that is all I have to say on this topic for today. So, if you have learned something new, why not leave a like and a comment down below, and have a wonderful day.